Our goal is the gentle unfolding of a well-rounded human being. What is happening today is that academics are being pushed to young children thinking that this is the way to help them succeed when actually you're drawing on their very life forces to do things that are not in line with the natural unfolding of the human being.
Basically, many families are coming in here with this idea of education being a rushed education elsewhere, every other environment that they've experienced. They're having to learn 60 sight words, for example, at age 5. But when they come here and they see the classrooms, they realize that everything is done at a slower pace, and they are really attracted to that. And the children learn better in a slower environment.
The job market of today is so different than it was when I was a child. It isn't the Industrial Revolution anymore. It isn't specific to a skill. It's about capacities. How do you get along with others? Are you likable? Are you creative? Can you see things through to the end? Do you have grit? Those are the things now that employers are looking for. Because even by accepting a job, it's not given that that job won't change in a few years. And if you have the flexibility of thought and the ability to learn, then there's not very much you can't do.
What is that called, the water underneath the ground? Aquifers.
Waldorf education understands that humans develop in phases of 7 years, birth to 7, 7 to 14, 14 to 21. And we are different human beings. We have a different consciousness. We have a very distinctive relation to the view of the world in these different stages. And we want to honor those stages.
Go back again to the balcony of the house and said, "Cuckoo, I have come after you." Flew to the house of the top of it.
Knowledge does have boundaries, and imagination is really what brings us out of what is now and what is possible into the impossible. And children do it every day. As long as we can continue to nurture that natural imagination and curiosity that they have, they will be able to use that imagination coming up with a new way of looking at a problem. That is the only way to make a scientific discovery.
How do you create an education that nourishes a child so that they feel confident to meet the future and not what our world is, because it's going to be different? So in order to do that, you need the quality of imagination. Here's a friend. But this is just a piece of cloth. This doesn't really look like a friend. I wonder if there's a way that we can watch it become a friend. Should we see? Okay, let's see what we can do. Here's a bunny with ears so funny. Sometimes I'll have the children put out their carrot, right? And after a visit, then it's time for him to hop away. Okay, goodbye, bunny. Off he goes. Children naturally live in this space. When they'll take a toy and change it into something else, right? This is a way of wakening that up, encouraging that element, respecting that element, welcoming that element of transformation.
The curriculum is designed in such a way that, because it is developmentally appropriate, the children can relate in a very deep way to what they're being taught.
So we don't have textbooks. We create our own books that we call main lessons, lesson books. So beginning right away in the first grade, the letters are brought to them through stories, through fairy tales. And then the children will bring this work into their main lesson book. So the story was about a mountain, and you can see there's this drawing of the mountain. And then that translates to learning the shape of the letter, which then translates to seeing the letter as part of the word. And the children start this right away in first grade. So they're thinking like, what does this represent? How can I bring this to the page? So that's a problem solving, that's creativity, imagination, all being built and worked with the art. When children are just only faced with the head skills, the thinking skills, and here's this page, it's a black and white page, bunch of math problems. There's one way the teacher wants it. There's no room for the creativity and the imagination and the problem solving. The art brings that to the children. And that's what is really wonderful about Waldorf. We have these rigorous academics just wrapped up with the art and the nature, and it really gives the children a well-roundedness in their studies. And then it brings out this well-roundedness in who they are.
When we talk about will in Waldorf education, it definitely has different connotations depending on the age of the child. And when you're talking about a child before the age of 7, it's interesting because they're pure will. Is really reinforcing that will, letting them see how far they can go. What we try to do is direct that will into rhythmical, meaningful work in the classroom, and it's all based on movement.
Well, we're teaching them how to care for themselves and for the world. Right away, they're just engaged in the whole process. By the end of our program, they can sew their own shirt, knit their own hat, make their own food, clean up after themselves. There's a high level of social and emotional growth and learning that's happening, in addition to, how many quarter cups of flour do I need to make the bread dough, and all of the math and science that goes into that. Even a young child, they gain a great amount of confidence so that later, when they're older and they might be faced with a challenging situation, like a real moment of crisis, that they have inwardly the feeling, I can do it.
Good morning, Gotham. Good morning, Miss Carter. Good morning, Adeline. Good morning.
The morning handshake is one of the most important parts of the day. Even though it doesn't seem like much, it's the time that the teacher can make this personal connection with each child. And you can discern, are they feeling well? Are they on edge? And you do this with each child, and it might be that having the autonomy that Waldorf teachers have, you may be rearranging your lessons for the day to meet the children where they are. We also have a handshake at the end of the day. Again, you look at the children right eye to eye, and it's an affirmation no matter what happened today. You are still my student, and you're loved and you're safe. So it's a meaningful gesture that I have always appreciated about Waldorf.
One misnomer I want to completely set aside is that there's this thought that in Waldorf there's absolutely no testing. Well, not so true. In the early grades, we don't bring anything in a testing model. The assessments are done usually by observation, the teacher observing the child in their reading, their writing, their math, and through their main lesson work. As the children progress in the grades, there'll be spelling words, spelling quizzes, and I don't call my math quizzes. I just tell them that, this is a review activity. But there is no high stakes pressure testing. There are no fill in the bubbles. That's not how we assess children. We assess children more in their doing. What are they capable of doing?
In my mind, I had it that, in the early childhood years, it's very just freeing, and there's a lot of room to let the child be who they are. And I thought it would just be that free throughout the whole education. But when I learned about all of the challenges, it almost worried me thinking, putting myself in his shoes, like, good luck, buddy, that sounds hard. But then knowing and trusting in the fact that they have such a solid methodology to getting them to that place reassured me, you know, full confidence, full steam ahead. But once I really sunk my teeth into the place, I realized how academic it is.
We know in a way it's a great leap of faith. Waldorf is unique from everything else that is out there. So first of all, we have great sense of gratitude. We welcome parents as partners. They know their child better than anyone. So we have class meetings. Each teacher has a class meeting to tell the parents, here's what we're teaching and here's why we do it. Here's why we're teaching this subject now. Here's why we're teaching it in this way.
When they finish this educational journey, they are going to be such solid people, well-rounded in their thinking, their feeling, their willing, you know, the hands, head, heart, all together, that they have freedom to move forward in life.
Educating a child should always start with what is practical and what is real. The further that we get into abstractions in education, the less it can belong to the children. And when they have a practical, emotional experience with a material, it will permeate in their memory. It just takes one small step to make every educational milestone into an experience. And that's what Waldorf education has been doing for 100 years.
It's like a Renaissance education. I mean, you're having the mind, the body, the spirit, the vitality, the yearning for more in life, and all of those things are all engaged. I mean, I feel more than gratified about my choice. I'm trying to catch up to be a better parent because I've now seen the standards are so high, but so attainable, and just surrounded by other parents who are doing the same thing.
We're a threefold being. We're a thinking being, a feeling being, a willing being. What I found in Waldorf education is that this is what it's about. Really understanding children, their development stages, and looking at each individual child to find that gift, that destiny that they have. And you're there to help uncover that purpose so that they can live productive, happy, fulfilling lives.